This is the old one.
Right, okay.
Different angles.
Right, so we've got a new month and the start of a new project for anybody who wants a new project to start. This month I thought I'd have a look at coastal scenes and boats. So that's the theme if you wanted to have a go at that as a theme. I brought some photographs in here, so those photos at the front are related to the sea in some way or other. So that's that, and I thought I would do a very quick kind of demo, just really looking at waves today, just using acrylics. Next week I thought I'd go on to more of a drawing demo, so get stuck into sort of drawing boats and just different tactics that you might find useful for drawing boats. But I just thought I'd start with a little bit of painting this week. I'm going to use acrylics, which are drying incredibly fast, so it's quite a challenge using the acrylics in this weather, I find. So that's that. Well, so I think that's more or less it. I've got, oh yeah, we've got some materials down front here that Sue's brought in. So Sue's been given these. So and these are sort of more than what I needed. So if anybody would like any of these, please help yourself. The other thing is I'm going to order some bits and bobs from CY, which is like the wholesaler where I get things like get the watercolour paper and the sketchbooks and bits and bobs. So if anybody wants anything out here, let me know the rest of the catalogue, and I'll try and get an order in probably at the end of the week if I can. So that's like that. I'll leave that on there. And so I picked this one because I thought it was quite a nice wave. The background colour is a little bit light, so I might just make it a tiny bit darker. It feels a bit too light. And I very lightly just sketched the shape out using a little bit of pastel pencil. So nice and easy to adjust if I want to, if you want a bit out, using a pastel pencil. I tend to get some of these background colours in first and then some of the shadow colours, and perhaps leave a little bit of a gap for some of the lighter bits. So I'll mix as I go. So this background colour, I'll mix a little bit of, this morning I actually used a bit of green and purple because I didn't have the blue out, and that worked quite well. So plenty of white. And not going to use a lot of water, but just the tiniest touch of water just to help that to flow. I think go a little bit lighter than that. So yeah, something like that sort of tone. And reasonable sized brush that I can get paint down with fairly quickly. So that can go in there. And really underneath the wave as well is similar sort of colours. So just under here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap for the lightest and darkest. I think some of that in place would be quite a good start. And scrubbing that in a little bit. So, won't stay wet for very long, but I could at this stage. There are a few bits that are slightly darker, so some almost like little bits of shadow. So I'll just add a little bit more paint to that to get some shadow. Just sticking with the same brush, and it's quite a long head brush, it's a square brush, but that's working quite nicely just to try and get a few kind of bits of waves in the distance. I find that square brushes work quite nicely for this, and reasonably long hair gives me a more fluid mark. I could do the same in the foreground, not to spend too long on that because I can feel the paint start drying on the brush. So that's some water. And then onto shadow areas. So in this photograph, it seems to have come out a bit green. I'm not quite so sure that that's the right colour. So just maybe a darker, maybe a little bit of brown in with the blue. Yeah, that feels a better colour, slightly greyish blue. So we've got some. And again, similar size brush. Slightly for me, the brushes are quite an important part. They're very much part of the expression of whatever I'm trying to paint. And then there's the shadow and a little bit of reflection there. And then a bit more shadow here, both in the wave and into the water. Like that tiny bit, just blend that. So that's most of the shadows. Again, that's starting to dry. What you can do in the hot weather is maybe just dampen your brushes a little bit to start with, and then drain them, just so that this bit isn't completely dry. You'll find that the paint is just drying instantly there. So if you use an acrylics, and the next bit would be the kind of foam on the wave. Now for this I want, say, maybe a slightly rounder brush. Something a bit rounder. That's actually like a filter, I think. Yeah, something like that. I'm going to start with an off-white, because this bit here is going into a little bit of shadow, and that bit there's in shadow. So I want an off-white to start with. So a little bit of the colour I have for the water just mixed in, and a tiny bit of yellow as well. A little bit of yellow ochre, and then plenty of white. So it's just trying to get a sense of that shape and softening the marks out, almost like a sort of dry brush mark. Perhaps a little bit darker, mixing with the grey a little bit more shadow in here. You find that the acrylics will dry slightly darker anyway. Get some of those shadows in there. And then there's a little bit of a gap there. And then shadow onto there. And then back into the lighter tone. White mixed. And then the very brightest bits, I'll go for a smaller brush still. So it's progressively getting smaller. I'll go with the rigger or this very warm brush. So this would be, and again, just going to so you don't try too quick. Just a few white kind of highlights here and there. So if I'm on the crest of the very top of the wave, it might be catching a little bit more white. A little bit of highlight in here. And the nice thing about this brush is it's more difficult to control. We'll get more kind of random, slightly livelier marks. Blend that on my finger a little bit. And the same here, a little bit of highlight just on the top of the wave, where the light is just kind of catching up here. And where the foam's breaking, you might get a few kind of little dots, splashes, so you can do that kind of thing. The other thing would be to almost like spray the paint, not spray, but flick the paint. So try that, gets a bit messy. But I find if you're doing that, on a little bit more fluid paint, just a bit of water added, just make it lighter. And then being sort of gentle with it, so you're not overdoing it, but a little bit. This helps to give a little bit of expression to it. Obviously, if you're worried about where it's going to go, you could masco it out with a little bit of newspaper, so you don't get it where you don't want it. How's that? All good? Any questions?
It's amazing the difference those highlights make to it.
Yeah, because the thing it's got volume, it's got shape, and it will catch the light in certain places, and other bits will start to dip into shadow. So that's quite an important bit. I think it's very tempting to just go very white, very early on. And actually this one I think works better than the one I did this morning. There's a little bit more form and volume to it. Okay, so yeah, next week I'll do more of a drawing demo. So I'll be more looking at shapes and different approaches, particularly when it comes to drawing boats. Okay. Has anybody got any particular requests of anything you'd like me to cover with this particular project? So it's sort of coastal scenes, oaks and coastal scenes.
In a couple of weeks when I'm back, could you do something about how to make sand look realistic?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because it always just looks, whenever
Yeah.
I paint sand, it's
Yeah.
either too yellow or it just looks
Yeah. Okay.
lots of dots.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. When you're away?
Away for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So the last week. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that.
So, can I ask, when you do them coming in, you've got the break, you know, like the lines, and it don't look right.
Okay.
So what you do to make it look like the break, the rolling in?
That they're rolling in.
Yeah. Nice not in that picture, but.
Yeah.
It's kind of to the beach, like this area.
Yeah. I need to look at whatever it is, an image or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably it's just a matter of shadows and following the shapes and shadows, really.
Or is it white? You still do it the white. I don't know why it's not.
Yeah.
It don't look right.
Yeah.